You know the scenes, the lines, the faces. But have you ever wondered which director nearly lost their job or which actor improvised an unforgettable line? Many of these films faced studio pressure and nearly never made it to the screen. Nowadays, Hollywood is dominated by franchises, but movies like these broke the mold. Join us as we dive into 10 groundbreaking films that defied convention and transformed Hollywood forever. You know the iconic lines and faces from The Graduate, but behind the scenes, Dustin Hoffman entered his audition filled with nerves, convinced he had missed his chance. The studio was searching for the typical polished heartthrob, a tall, smooth actor with a perfect smile. But director Mike Nichols saw something entirely different. He chose Hoffman, the awkward outsider, defying Hollywood's usual mold. This was an era dominated by flawless looks and confident leading men, and Hoffman simply didn't fit that image. Even Hoffman himself believed the call was a mistake. On set, Hoffman's anxiety never fully faded. His uncertain, stumbling performance wasn't acting, it was genuine discomfort. Nichols embraced this unease and transformed it into the character's core. Suddenly, awkwardness became a fresh, compelling form of charm. The Graduate flipped the Hollywood script, portraying Ben Braddock as a young man caught between childhood and adulthood, uncertain, and improvising his way through life. Young audiences identified deeply with this new kind of hero, confused, insecure, yearning for change. Meanwhile, older viewers were left puzzled. Made on a modest budget of around $3 million, The Graduate earned over $100 million at the box office. The legendary soundtrack by Simon and Garfunkel became synonymous with the film's mood. Overnight, studios began seeking the next outsider star. Hollywood's idea of the leading man had changed irrevocably. Nichols and Hoffman rewrote the rules, allowing the underdog, awkward, honest, and a little lost, to finally take center stage and win. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. We robbed banks. That line, along with the film itself, sparked outrage among censors and critics. They raged against its unprecedented violence and stylized chaos, things Hollywood had never dared show with such raw intensity before the late 60s. Arthur Penn and his team were fully aware of the risks they were taking. Blacklists still lingered, and many warned against pushing boundaries. Yet Warren Beatty refused to back down. He insisted on cranking up the violence and realism, crafting a shootout finale unlike anything audiences had seen. Early screenings saw people walking out, some calling the film disgusting, others declaring it a masterpiece. The studio pressured Penn to tone it down, but he fought tooth and nail to preserve every intense frame. With a modest budget just shy of $3 million, Bonnie and Clyde went on to rake in over $70 million at the box office, a tidal wave of success that marked a new era. Watching it today, with its slow-motion blood splatter and graphic mayhem, it might seem almost tame, but back then it was a slap in the face. The film glamorized its outlaw anti-heroes, moving bank robbers from mere criminals to complex figures who captured imaginations. Gene Hackman and Faye Dunaway delivered performances that burned with authenticity and fire. After Bonnie and Clyde's triumph, studios clamored for their own violent, edgy hits. Hollywood's old moral filters on screen violence splintered. Movies dared to be louder, darker, and more daring. Penn and Beatty proved you could be bold, shock audiences, and still fill theaters. From that moment forward, Hollywood's brakes on its wild side were permanently released. Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda weren't just acting. They were truly riding motorcycles across America, breaking free from traditional filmmaking rules. With no permits or fancy sets, they filmed in real towns, often getting high during the shoots to capture an authentic vibe. Most studios doubted the movie would succeed, dismissing the tale of bikers and drifters as unappealing. But when Jack Nicholson unexpectedly joined the cast, he stole every scene he was in. With a modest budget of about $400,000, Easy Rider went on to make over $60 million at the box office. Its success wasn't just financial. It revolutionized Hollywood by shining a spotlight on youth culture. Directors everywhere tried to replicate the film's sense of freedom, spontaneity, and raw energy, from the iconic soundtrack to the real locations and innovative camera work. Today, you can trace the influence of Easy Rider in countless indie films, road movies, and stories about outsiders. For a pure homage, look no further than Tulane Blacktop, a critically acclaimed car movie that captures that same spirit of risk and reward. Easy Rider took a gamble, and Hollywood has been chasing that thrill ever since. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. This film was never expected to claim any major awards, let alone Best Picture. The studio saw it as an art house project, maybe even too gritty for mainstream audiences. Yet, Midnight Cowboy refused to play it safe. With Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight bringing New York's raw underbelly to life, the movie showed slums, hustlers, and shattered dreams with brutal honesty. Every scene was shot on real city streets, no constructed sets, no Hollywood polish. Studio executives panicked. They demanded the language be cleaned up and the violence toned down. Director John Schlesinger stood firm. He refused to water down the sharp edges. A memorable moment occurred when Hoffman, frustrated during filming, banged on a taxi hood and shouted, "I'm walking here. I'm walking here." That line was never scripted, it happened spontaneously. But they kept it, and it became the pulse of the movie. Hoffman continued improvising throughout, especially in intense hotel scenes, with Voight matching his realism by staying fully in character. The soundtrack was minimalistic, just guitar and street sounds, nothing sentimental. When the Oscars came around, nobody expected Midnight Cowboy to sweep. Yet it became the only X-rated film to win Best Picture, a true milestone. Made for just over $3 million but earning $44 million, it proved that taboo subjects could earn critical and commercial success. After Midnight Cowboy, studios took bolder chances, shooting in real locations, embracing adult themes, and exploring characters teetering on the edge. This gritty breakthrough proved underground filmmaking could triumph, and Hollywood's appetite for risk was forever changed. The Wild Bunch, 1969. Sam Peckinpah took the classic Western genre and shattered its traditional image. With lines like 30 Days to Get Pike or 30 Days Back to Yuma and characters like Mr. Thornton, the film delivered a brutal, raw experience unlike anything before. Peckinpah insisted on showing real blood, genuine stunts, and bodies falling everywhere, rejecting the clean-cut, heroic westerns audiences were used to. Studio executives nearly canned the project, fearing it was too violent, too grimy, too far from the polished norm. Critics blasted the film for its graphic violence, slow-motion shots, and chaos, but audiences flocked to theaters in droves. They had never seen such an unvarnished look at outlaws gunning each other down with no clean riders riding off into the sunset. The violence still hits hard even today. Gunfire, dust flying, and a world where no heroes remain unscathed. Peckinpah's unwavering commitment to authenticity paid off. He didn't fake a thing. The gunfights, the mayhem, the lawlessness were all captured in vivid detail, introducing a new level of grit to the Western. Hollywood took notice fast, with action directors eager to emulate the chaotic energy, incorporating slow-motion gunfights, bigger explosions, and a tougher edge into their films. TV shows even mirrored the look and intensity. The Wild Bunch proved that shock value could drive ticket sales like never before. This movie rewrote the rules for action films. It blurred the lines between hero and villain, tossing out old black and white morality in favor of complexity and unpredictability. From this point forward, Hollywood chased that edgy, dangerous vibe Peckinpah unleashed. When you watch any modern action movie, you can trace its roots right back to the Wild Bunch. Taking risks never backfired for Peckinpah. It transformed Hollywood, and it never looked back. Chinatown, 1974. The studio, Paramount, was on edge, convinced the film was headed for disaster. With a budget hovering around $6 million, executives pushed for a safe, conventional ending to ensure a return on their investment. But Roman Polanski had other plans. On set, he tore apart the script, rewriting the conclusion as filming progressed, clashing with actors and firing crew members in the process. The atmosphere was tense. Faye Dunaway and Jack Nicholson barely spoke when the cameras weren't rolling, creating an icy set where trust was scarce. Despite relentless pressure from the studio for a happier resolution, Polanski stood firm, determined to deliver a gut-wrenching finale that Hollywood had rarely dared to show. When Chinatown finally hit theaters, it shattered expectations, earning nearly $30 million, quintuple the initial budget. Critics who had been skeptical were forced to reconsider, as the film ushered in a new era where darkness and bleakness became fashionable in storytelling. Suddenly, studios clamored to explore tales of corruption and shattered dreams. Noir was no longer just a nostalgic nod, but the future of cinema. That unforgettable final scene, something a contemporary studio would likely never approve, didn't just save the movie. It transformed the very atmosphere of every Hollywood boardroom thereafter. Chinatown's impact lingers still, teaching filmmakers how to leave audiences stunned long after the credits roll. Mean Streets, 1973. Martin Scorsese bet everything on this film. No safety net, no big studio backing, pouring his own life onto the screen. The story was deeply personal. Family ties, friendships, and the weight of Catholic guilt shadowing every choice. Studios rejected the project, unwilling to finance a tale about small-time criminals and local priests. In desperation, Scorsese gathered funds from anyone who would help. Most scenes were shot in actual bars and rented apartments without permits, letting the ambient city sound seep in and heightening the raw realism. Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, then not yet famous, brought unpredictable energy. De Niro constantly pushed boundaries while Keitel held the story together. The dialogue felt genuine. Scorsese encouraged the actors to stray from the script, capturing authentic conversations among men late at night. Gone was the polish and the Hollywood tough guy cliches. Instead, audiences witnessed people struggling to survive without losing their souls. Behind the scenes, Scorsese's mother, Catherine, played a crucial role, providing home-cooked meals to the cast and crew when money ran low, offering a haven amid the chaos. That sense of family radiates through every gritty scene. Though Mean Streets didn't win major awards or dominate box office charts, it revolutionized crime cinema. Suddenly, gripping stories didn't require mob bosses or grand shootouts. Tension, guilt, and raw truth sufficed. Every gritty gangster film that followed owes a debt to this one. Scorsese may not have invented the genre, but after Mean Streets, the bar was set higher for everyone else. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. Jack Nicholson stepped onto an actual psychiatric ward with no soundstage or Hollywood safety net to shield him. Among the extras were real patients, not actors pretending in the background. The cast and crew lived on site for weeks, eating in the cafeteria, sleeping in old hospital rooms, and adapting to the constant alarms and routines of institutional life. Producer Michael Douglas risked his reputation and finances to bring this powerful drama to life. Director Milos Forman approached the film with raw honesty, ignoring Hollywood's conventions of slick lighting or overdramatic flair, instead presenting an unvarnished portrayal of institutional existence. Nurse Ratched, played by Louise Fletcher, wasn't a caricature but a cold, calm, untouchable figure. Nicholson gave his all, breaking objects and shouting when demanded by the character's spirit. He embodied McMurphy as a man ready to burn the place down rather than surrender. Much of what unfolds on screen emerged from the cast's spontaneous reactions. No rehearsals, no safety nets. This authenticity resonated deeply. The film swept major accolades at the Oscars, winning Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Director, and Screenplay, an unprecedented achievement nobody expected. It challenged Hollywood's perceptions of what subject matter could succeed, proving that uncomfortable, raw stories had a place on the grandest stage. Today, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest stands as a testament to fearless filmmaking, a bold defiance of industry norms that few would dare to attempt now. Taxi Driver, 1976. Paul Schrader wrote the script in a haze of exhaustion and desperation, penning every ugly thought that haunted him onto paper. At the time, it was just pages that studios didn't want to touch. Robert De Niro dove deep into the role, taking real cab shifts in New York for 12 hours at a stretch, silently observing strangers, and slipping into the troubled mind of Travis Bickle long before filming began. The studio was uneasy, doubting what Scorsese was creating. They demanded cuts to the violence and a tamer ending, but Scorsese stood firm. The final shootout scene was so intense it nearly got the film banned, forcing them to darken the blood's color just to sneak past the ratings board. Jodie Foster, only 12 years old at the time, was cast in a role that stirred anxiety on set. And the legendary line, "You talkin' to me?" wasn't scripted. It was De Niro improvising alone before a mirror, capturing raw and unpredictable energy. Hollywood wasn't ready for a film like Taxi Driver. You don't root for Bickle. You watch him spiral, isolated within his own mind. This wasn't just a story about violence or a gritty city. It was a brutal look at paranoia and loneliness made real by Scorsese's uncompromising vision. After Taxi Driver, Hollywood could never go back the same way again. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. On the set of The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola was nearly fired week after week. Studio executives disliked Marlon Brando and doubted Al Pacino's appeal. They envisioned a quick, low-budget crime film, nothing too serious or intricate. But Coppola resisted every demand. He fought fiercely to keep Brando and Pacino in the cast, even as the studio threatened to halt production. Spies were sent to monitor the set, second-guessing every creative choice. The tension was palpable. Even real-life mobsters visited to see if they were being mocked, making the cast uneasy and prompting the crew to keep quiet. Brando transformed his appearance by stuffing cotton in his cheeks to sound older. Notably, he boycotted the Oscars, sending Sachin Littlefeather in his place to protest Hollywood's treatment of American Indians, a moment that sparked both boos and cheers, encapsulating the intense atmosphere surrounding the film. The Godfather revolutionized cinema, with Brando's performance shaking the industry to its core. Pacino's subtle intensity nearly cost him his role during filming, but Coppola urged everyone to trust his vision, a trust not easily given, yet evident in the final product. When released, the film didn't just win awards, it reset Hollywood's approach to storytelling. Its blend of power and intimacy redefined the crime genre, weaving complex morality into a compelling box office magnet. Since then, every gangster saga has tried to emulate its masterful balance, though few have succeeded. The Godfather proved that mature, intricate narratives could captivate wide audiences, influencing not just films, but also prestige TV dramas and hit comedies. Hollywood attempted to mimic its formula, but failed to match Coppola's boldness, Brando's commanding presence, or Pacino's quiet fire. Such a risky gamble has not been seen since, and honestly, the industry may no longer know how to recreate that magic. These 10 films dared to push boundaries and confront uncomfortable truths, forever altering the landscape of Hollywood. Their legacies remind us that true artistry thrives on taking risks and defying conventions. Through their stories and innovations, they reshaped what cinema could be, inspiring generations of filmmakers and audiences alike. If you loved diving into these untold Hollywood stories, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below.